with the made-to-order Marvel Legends, we're wondering, could Marvel Legends extend this made-to-order model for all figures so we never sell out? Let's talk about that. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota, here with my co-host, Jordan. And today, we're talking about the possibilities of all Marvel Legends being made to order. Now, this is something that sparked my idea because this is what Four Horsemen do with Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions. So, I guess I'll lay out the groundwork for what they do in case if you haven't watched the show and you haven't watched me talk about Mythic Legions 100 times, this is how they do it. So whenever they have a reveal, they'll show you the wave of figures that they're going to be putting out, and then they'll give you like a month, or I think the most they ever give you is 2, maybe they even push it to 3, because what was that, November?
Yeah.
It's usually like a month or maybe 2. When you order directly from Four Horsemen, you're getting a little bit of a discount usually, so your $50 retail figures direct pre-order price is usually around like $37, something like that. So you're getting like a 10 to 12, depending on the figure. Maybe you even get like a $15 discount. Then you put your pre-order in, you're locked in, your figures are coming, you know you're going to have them on the way. Then they start making those figures, so then you have to wait for the production time, which is going to be usually, I think with Marvel Legends it would be a faster turnaround because there's a lot more reuse here. But you'd probably have to wait a year, similar to like we do with the HasLabs or Dragon Man or the Sentinels. It's going to be about a year until you get that wave in hand. Now, that's different because Marvel Legends right now, they put out a figure, they show you, and it's about like maybe 3 months until you have that figure, maybe less. So you've got a much bigger window there, but you've got some savings, and you're never going to have to worry about like it's going to be impossible to find your Black Widows or
hop on and order it on Target in time.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to have those issues anymore. When you want a figure, you pre-order it, you get a slight discount. There'll still be available, like Big Bad Toy Store is going to get their stuff, Nerdzoa is going to get their stuff, but you're going to have to pay, like I said, $10 to $15 more because you're not doing the direct pricing from the like production. So that's kind of the gist of it. What do you think of that, Jordan? Like, do you think Marvel Legend fans themselves could handle that? Because I think it definitely gets tricky with like doing Walmart and Target. I don't think you could sell at Walmart and Target anymore, but they really don't do that much anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, my first thought there would be I think it's kind of shifted to most figures. People are getting pre-orders or ordering online. I think as it is. I mean, there's some stuff you find in stores, but I think that's gotten a lot spottier. So this would remove that frustration of did I get it in time or did I not find it anywhere around me. I think the other thing people would say, well, you know, if you're not in on it, you miss it, but it kind of already is that way. I mean, if it's a really popular figure and you miss it, then it's gone, right? It's not like, I guess you could say there's less popular figures that are still easier to get. So I guess there's that piece of it. But I think as a whole, I think the other thing I think about is more from Hasbro's perspective of like what they need to produce and all that kind of stuff, you know. Because I almost imagine you'd start making fewer figures, don't you think? I can't imagine they do the same amount with that format, especially.
But I think, it seems like that's the trend already anyway, is make less figures.
Yeah. I just wonder if you think, losing out on like the more obscure characters. Like, would you have to start tapering back to like, we kind of got to put the bangers in these made-to-order waves to make sure people are ordering them. But I guess then there's the part of if people don't order it, it doesn't get made, right? So
right, I was going to say, or would that increase the likelihood of getting those more obscure characters because there's no risk on Hasbro part? There would still be sales like Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions. They still have their like retail-wide sales, so it's not like you're always stuck paying that retail price. But they at least are not making massive quantities of figures that people aren't really wanting. You know, you make some extras just because some people don't order, but You know,
No,
you would know for sure.
It's almost like more of a safety net because
Right.
like we're only going to make Frankencastle if
Mm-hmm.
Jordan and all the other loyal fans really want them.
Right.
But then would they be like we're not? I don't know. I'd be curious to hear like the Hasbro perspective on that because I kind of see both sides of that. Like it could be an advantage or could it be restrictive? And I guess part of it would be how
Yeah.
does that play out?
I think I think this would realistically this probably would never happen through
Yeah.
Hasbro. I think what would have to
Mm-hmm.
happen is Hasbro, like Marvel Legends collecting, slows down enough that the Hasbro team is like, all right, we don't really want to make Marvel Legends anymore. They're too big of a company to make that small of amount of figures for it to matter
Mm-hmm.
to them. So then somebody else gets the line, and then it goes more of that direct pre-order type of style.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I don't think you could do this Mythic Legion Four Horsemen style of pre-ordering and put
Yeah.
them in Walmart's, Targets, or even Amazon's. Like you would have to have,
Mm-hmm.
like you can still get your Four Horsemen figures on Amazon, but that's through some other retailer that's also selling through Amazon, not specifically from Amazon
Right.
itself.
Yeah, because it'd have to be like if you're doing made to order, you're ordering it probably through Hasbro, right? It wouldn't be like
Right.
you're going on Amazon to because
Mm-hmm.
the people who shop on Amazon maybe don't get on Hasbro and order it from there. I could see it maybe if they tried it with like a specific line or a specific set to just kind of see, like hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
the made to order wave almost. So like
Yeah.
you could do it that way. I don't know if it'd be more of like a niche something that like maybe people would want, but maybe they want to risk going all in on this is a whole line of this, and if people want it, we make it.
Yeah.
I would almost see that for sure, or I definitely would see that before like the whole
Mm-hmm.
everything we do is that.
Right.
But I do think it's an interesting idea because people seem pretty frustrated with A, I can't find it in stores, or B, I
Mm-hmm.
missed the pre-order with a lot of things. And
Yeah.
this really takes out, like you've said, with Mythic Legions, it's kind of takes out a lot of that stress, where it's
Yeah.
like if you want it, you're going to get it. And
Mm-hmm.
I do think that's kind of a cool model.
Yeah. I think some fans would definitely have a hard time with the waiting, like the wait time
Mm-hmm.
adjustment, because like I said, it's Marvel Legends is much quicker. Like
Mm-hmm.
they do the live stream, they're like, hey, look, here's your figure, because there's already on store shelves right now like the Agent Venoms and that retro Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
wave. Like Dan Who's already got all of those figures reviewed. He had those reviewed, I think, before the end of last year, like in December. So like that was a very fast turnaround for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I think, like taking them out of the big box retail stores does lower your chances of bringing in new fans, just because
Mm-hmm.
like even with the Sentinel, like you and I weren't collecting. I think we got in right after the close of the HasLab Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
So like we didn't know about it, and it was still on like big box store shelves, and then we
Mhm.
still missed it. So then like now you're going to get people that like way more people are going to be like, oh yeah, like I used to collect Marvel Legends, but I kind of forgot about it. There's no like walking down the toy aisle and being like, oh wow, these are cool, like I'm going to get back into this.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have them still in
Yeah.
like comic book stores, and maybe that would be kind of the cool aspect of taking them out of retail stores, is now you got to go hunt in comic book stores, and now you're supporting your local comic book store. And
Mhm.
I'd love to give them some more help, so
Yeah.
maybe that's part of the way to do that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. Of you got to think about like the casual buyer, maybe who
Mhm.
isn't totally up on this is when it's revealed, this is how it's released. You got to go here to get it. You would probably lose a lot of that demographic. So,
But I think you would still have that
yeah.
strong base to start with, because I think there are more
Mhm.
Marvel Legend fans than there are Mythic Legion fans. I think the Mythic Legion
Yeah.
fans are much more hardcore, and maybe that would be something that like trims the fat on the Marvel Legend community, because if you look at our comments, any one of our videos, there's usually people in there that are like, oh, people love to hate Marvel Legends and people just are here for the hate, blah blah blah, which is
Yeah.
that's true. Like some people, no matter
Mhm.
what they put out, they're going to complain every single time. So maybe that trims them off. They're like, I'm just not going to collect this anymore, and you stop hearing all the negativity. Maybe
That's
don't know.
true. I mean, there would definitely be, I think, a whole ton of pushback. not slick back, pushback from this move, I think people would be unless you really sat down to think about it, because even as we talked, I hadn't thought about some of the things you were talking about of like, could it actually help you to make more of these figures that maybe are not seen as often or are too much of a risk to be like, we're just going to make a whole bunch of them, which I personally would rather have fewer figures and have them be either more unique or more well developed than just a whole bunch all the time. For me.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of more just my collecting style. Is I'm not like I need to get every single one that comes out. I'd rather it just be like the ones that come out I want, and sometimes they're more obscure, and if I don't need it, that's fine. But I would be okay with shifting to like we're maybe focusing more than making a whole bunch.
Yeah. And I think that's another interesting, like probably a separate episode of talking about like how it actually is currently with Marvel Legends, of like whether you want more figures or the obscure characters, or like, because there's always the argument of like, oh, stop making Wolverine and Iron Man and Spider-Man. But I think that's a separate argument. When you do this like made to order thing, I think that might kill the build of figures, because you know, like what if there's within a build a figure wave, there's always a few that you don't want, so it's going to make, you know, your build a figure's right arm is going to be super duper obscure. You're going to have to pay $100 for that right arm just because nobody wanted whoever it came with.
Only 5 of the 7 characters got funded, so there's no head or leg for your new Apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing too, is I'm not thinking like funded. I'm thinking this is like Dragon.
No, I know.
It's like
I'm just imagining
the
joke of only certain ones got made. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Where if there was fewer of them, then it messes with the whole value of the build figure. So
yeah. So yeah. I think that would probably take that away. I mean, I think I could see this being kind of helpful for, you know, we don't know for sure yet, but you can go back and watch our speculation on the Maximum line. If that Maximum Spider-Man turns out to be $50, but if you were able to pre-order it from direct and like kind of, you know, show the support up front, maybe you would have got it for $40. I would have been much more in on a Spider-Man for, you know, getting him at a discount, because, you know, I'm going to probably end up buying these figures anyway. I'll give them the money earlier, so I give them less money, and then I'll get my figures. So, but I could also see people, because I know people don't like doing that, even with Mythic Legions, where they give them the pre-order money, and then you have to wait that year, even sometimes 2 years. Like I said, I think Marvel Legends will be quicker than that because they're not doing as much new tooling usually. But do you want that company to have your money for X amount of time longer than they already do? So that's another thing.
Yeah.
Curious to know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think about this made-to-order idea. I don't know how feasible it is, but we can at least have a discussion about it. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing, and joining. And until next time, stay strong. I don't know. It was in one of our...
I think our listeners need to know about us getting called, what was it? Cookie and Bozo.
Oh, yeah.
I think we could have a vote if people...
yeah.
Which of us is Cookie and which... We got a mean comment saying one of us is Cookie and Bozo, and I'd like to know who's who.
One of Displaying Model Behavior's crayon-eating fans.
They really came down on us. They were upset, dude. I feel like you'd be Cookie.
I'd be Cookie.
I got dibs on Bozo.
Yeah. We're going to have to start walking around the conventions with an entourage now that they want to fight us.
We had a guy saying he wants to fight us at Comic-Con, so...
Which is weird that that's like the only place he'll ever be is Comic-Con. I would never see you in the wild elsewhere, but...
Well, he said he was going to make a video about us, so...
Oh, yeah. I'd love to see it.
Unfortunately, there's no videos or subscribers on his channel, so I'm not sure who's going to see it, but...